Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess and this is Just Plays Apart, where I post my gaming videos as well as quarterly book reviews. This is going to be my fourth quarter book reviews as well as my 2025 reading wrap up. So let's jump in. I'm combining these videos because I only read 2 books last quarter. So rather than make one 5-minute video, I'm just going to do it all at once. So the first book I read in the final quarter of 2025 is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. This is a dystopian post-apocalyptic fiction novel that follows the story of a father and his young son traveling through the wastes of an America where some kind of apocalyptic event has happened. We're not really given the details of that event, but we do know that it caused the collapse of society as we understand it today, as well as just leaving everything nearly covered in ash. They describe a lot of their traveling as putting on cloth over their faces to make makeshift masks to help prevent them from breathing in the soot all around them. The survivors of this unknown disaster are left to scavenge what they can or even resort to cannibalism in some cases. The father and son are making their way south with a cart of their belongings and a pistol that only has 2 rounds of ammunition. They come to the brink of starvation several times. Both of them fall sick at one point or another on their journey. They run into other bands of travelers who would hunt them down and eat them, as well as facing the elements of traveling through the mountains. The father often reminds his son that they need to keep going because they are carrying the fire. And we don't discover what that really means until the very end. So this is a well-beloved book in many spaces, and I'm probably going to catch heat for this, but I didn't really care for it. I could not really get on board with the writing style. It has virtually no punctuation. There's not even quotation marks to notate who is speaking when. It just goes from that prose directly into speaking with no way of differentiating it. And there's not even he said or the father said or the boy said. So it makes it kind of hard to follow for me in that regard. And when I don't like the writing style of something, I have a very, very hard time reading it. And speaking of the dialogue, a lot of the dialogue was so repetitive. Most of their conversations went as follows. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Are you sure? I'm okay. Okay. I'm scared. I know you're scared. I don't want to do that thing. We have to do that thing. But I'm scared. We have to go. End of play. The dialogue was so bland. The age of the son is not defined, but you can kind of guess that he's around 8 years old or so, because he still gets tired and wants to be carried. But he's still able to have thoughts and do things on his own. So that's where my brain kind of placed him as. 8-year-olds have much more involved conversations than that, as well as fathers with their 8-year-olds. I also couldn't really figure out why they were so hell-bent on getting to the ocean. That part was never really revealed, because they get there at one point. I'm really trying not to spoil this, but they do get to the ocean at one point, and then it just continues on with them just surviving. I don't know if they were supposed to meet someone and they just didn't say that, or what the deal was, and why the ocean was so goddamn important. That being said, I will end with something more on a positive note. I do like the importance of retaining your hope through the worst of times. And again, trying not to be spoilery, but the carrying the fire reference is that hope and maintaining your hope throughout your hardships. And when there seems like there's no end in sight, you're carrying the fire of the hope inside you. I did like that message even if I could not get on board with the rest of it. And I don't know, it was given to me to read by a friend who absolutely loved it. So maybe I'm just not the intended audience for this, and that's okay. So with all of that said, this is probably the lowest rating I've ever given, and that is 2.5 stars. And the last book I read of 2025, I'm very happy about, because I finally got through The Artist's Way. If you are not familiar, The Artist's Way is a 12-week self-guided workshop, essentially. This is written by Julia Cameron. She has written plays, screenplays, books, poetry, lots of things. And this is essentially a way for anyone, not necessarily if you call yourself an artist or not. I do know a lot of actors and performers at least attempt the artist's way once in their life, but that just helps you kind of rediscover creativity and what it means to be an artist, and any blocks that you may have internally that prevent you from creating. For example, if you have like mindset of scarcity, like, oh, I need to produce this, I need to have people buy this, then that can become a block for you. So this is a way to identify and address those blocks that you may have within yourself when it comes to creating art and sharing it for the sake of sharing it rather than to make a buck. Something that's kind of caught me up a bit is it does have a lot of God talk. And while she does address that at the very beginning, saying that you can fill in wherever she uses the word God with whatever that means to you, whether that is like a deity or the universe or just creation itself, you can kind of sub that in. But as often as she writes that in there, that's something that can kind of be a hang up for some people, and it was for me for a long time. Which is one reason why it took me 5 times to do this. I feel weird giving this a review because this is not meant to be like a sit down and read type of thing. This is meant to be a course. And it's a course that you are guiding yourself through with the assistance of Julia's words and exercises. And if you ever hear anybody talk about morning pages, that comes from this. The main part of this is to write like freehand journaling every single day. And another part of that is the artist date, to take yourself out on a date to nurture your inner artist and do something just for you. If you consider yourself any type of creative person, whether you're an actor, singer, dancer, writer, whatever, or even if you're just interested in those types of things, maybe you're not wanting to pursue art professionally, maybe you just want that for yourself, and that's totally okay. I still recommend you checking this out. Even if you get to week 6 and fall off the wagon, so to speak, 4 times, no matter what, every time that I have picked this up, I have discovered something that ended up benefiting either my work itself or even just my mind frame around my work. So I really recommend checking this out if you have any sort of artistic inclination. So all of that said, if I had to give it a rating, I give it 4 out of 5 stars. All right, now that the quarter 4 is out of the way, let's move on to my 2025 reading wrap up. In 2025, I read a total of 18 books. If you want to break that down, I did read just over 5,600 pages. I only DNF'd 1 book, that was The Wager, just because it was a library hold and it was really in demand and it would not allow me to renew my hold or extend my hold. And I could not, there was no possible way I was going to get through it by the time it was going to be returned. So that is the one that I did not finish. But I would love to get back to it. My initial goal for the year was 24 books, which again, I got through 18. So I wasn't quite close to my goal. I think last year my goal was 20 and I read 22. So I was thinking like, hey, just extend by a couple more. I don't know what happened this year. I was not in as many shows, so I had time to read. I just didn't really have the capacity to sit and read something, if that makes sense. My favorite books of the year, or the highest rated ones rather, are Sunrise on the Reaping, The Sun is Also a Star, and The Book Thief. 5 were books that would be considered like on a frequently banned or challenged list. So just kind of in no particular order, just kidding, I think it's alphabetical. Animal Farm, Brave New World, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, The Bell Jar, and Of Mice and Men. 5 of 18 being fairly frequently challenged or banned, I'd say that's a pretty good start. For 2026, I do plan on reading more banned and challenged books. I think it is very important to keep doing that because a lot of times they are banned and challenged in order to make sure that you aren't able to recognize certain patterns. And unfortunately, that is something that we have to be very careful about seeing today, especially in America. But I really encourage you to, in your reading goals, to make sure that you are, yes, read for pleasure, absolutely, but make sure that you are also reading to expand your mind, whether that is reading things that are new to you, whether that is reading subjects that you may have an interest in that you don't necessarily have a lot of knowledge about, or whether that's reading things regarding another culture. For example, I know I tend to read a lot of very like US and Western European centric stories, and that's something I want to kind of expand upon, to maybe read something that's not set in those areas. So that is going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this inspires you to either increase your reading goal for 2026 or to amend your goal to kind of expand what it is exactly you're reading, whether that is banned books or just reading works by non-American authors or non-British authors, and just to expand your horizons a little bit. You can find me everywhere under the handle at Just Plays a Part. I stream on Twitch. I recently started streaming music as well as video games, so please be sure to check out some of those. And until then, I will see you in the next one. Bye!